Welcome to a new edition of the Neon Jazz interview series with jazz saxophonist, composer, and educator Jordan VanHemert. We got into his new 2025 CD, Survival of the Fittest and a Life in the Music World. This new album makes 5 critically acclaimed releases to his credit, and this one features a powerhouse of cats like Terell Stafford, producer Michael Dease, Helen Sung, Rodney Whitaker, and the great Lewis Nash. He was born in Korea, raised in Michigan, and makes music rooted in the jazz tradition and guided by a resolute political consciousness, illuminating issues of race and social justice. It's quite a conversation. Enjoy this interview.
I'm looking forward to speaking with you.
Yeah, me as well. Yeah, I've already played your music on the show, really love the new album, so I'm looking forward to delving into that, Survival of the Fittest, and kind of your collective world of music, so thank you for taking a minute out.
Yeah, absolutely happy to.
So let's begin our journey before we get into the album and your life in jazz by asking you this. 5 years ago, this pandemic was rearranging and changing so much for all of us. How did you get through the pandemic of 2020 as a musician, and how did it ultimately alter or radiate into your world today in 2025?
Wow, that's a really big question, and I think for a lot of us musicians, we saw a lot of our gigs drying up. We saw a complete stoppage that really forced us to stop and take stock of what we were doing. And I think it sent a lot of us, myself included, into these kind of more pensive spaces. And so I wanted to keep creating, even though gigs really were not happening. And so I kept creating based on what I saw and things that, for lack of a better term, that I was still able to take inspiration from. And so I think, pandemic aside, I was able to keep writing, and just use any opportunity that I could to be creative.
Talk to me about this album. What was kind of the artistic vision for this project?
For this project, essentially what I wanted to do was to describe for the listener what it would be like to think through, in a musical sense, I guess, overcoming adversity. And so I had some adversity that you can read about in the liner notes, and kind of described my own experiences. And I hoped that essentially from getting really granular in my own life, that things would really resonate in a more global way with people. So it's really honestly based on this Japanese proverb, fall 7 times, stand up 8. And the overall message that I want people to really take away is, it's not the getting down, but the staying down that defines us. And as long as, you make the choice every day to persevere, we are not the sum total of our circumstances.
So talk to me a little bit about what you're hoping the listener gets from this album.
Yeah. It's... Again, I just really hope that the listener understands. We all go through difficult things, and I think sometimes you can feel really alone. At least, for me, sometimes I feel kind of isolated. And this album, I want this record to just really say, to people who are going through difficult circumstances, I see you and it gets better.
So take me back to your beginnings. Talk to me a little bit about how this journey into the music, and more specifically jazz, how did it take hold?
You know, for me, jazz kind of began as this fascination with sound. And my grandfather, he gave us his entire CD collection when he passed away, and so I listened through them as a way of, of remembering him, and it was really cool to hear all of these different things, all of these different sounds that he really liked, and among them was the Essential Charlie Parker, and that record really, really stopped me in my tracks. I'd never heard anything like Bird before, and so that got me kind of bitten by the jazz bug, to for lack of a better term. And so I went to the library and checked out all of the jazz CDs that I could, and I had armfuls of CDs just all the time, and I was listening to as much as I could, and it was really transformational to me. And then I started playing saxophone and really getting into playing the music more. But that's really how things started for me, and I've loved the music ever since. And it's just been one big adventure.
So what was the first live show you saw, live jazz show or otherwise, that blew you away, that made you think, I want to be up there one day and do that?
The first live show. It really wasn't necessarily a live show per se, but my older brother played saxophone, and so I always wanted to be like him, and so I wanted to kind of do that. It wasn't necessarily a live show, although I had at that point seen a couple of really great artists, but it was really, honestly, my brother playing the saxophone that made me think, like, that's what I want to do. I want to do that.
So how did everything begin for you? How did this journey into the, really taking it in earnest and playing and getting into this idiom, how did it all kind of take hold for you and make sense?
I guess for me, being a musician, and actually my undergraduate degree is in music education. And so, I was studying music on a larger scale, and I always kept coming back to jazz as being this place where I really felt like I fit. I think, there are a lot of really, really amazing saxophonists who are playing kind of more in the concert saxophone idiom. But for me at that time, I'd never really necessarily felt like I belonged or fit in with that group. And where I did feel like I could be myself, and it was not a not a detriment, is whenever I was improvising, when I was, playing jazz and learning the music, playing gigs with my friends all over town and all over campus. And so it really started for me in my undergraduate days, and really starting to really take the music more seriously and understand, kind of what it meant to be a jazz musician. Composing a lot of my earlier compositions, are from that day. And I had a great mentor, Robbie Smith, who is a fantastic trumpet player and also a fantastic saxophone player. He has that I guess, dual embouchure where he can play both trumpet and saxophone at a really high level. And he was really encouraging to me in terms of, like, he was a great role model in terms of, like, playing and writing, and you know, I saw his recordings and I thought, yeah, this is what I really want to do, and like, I wonder if there's a place for me here. And he kept really encouraging me that there indeed was, like, a space for me and what I had to offer as a saxophonist.
So, as an educator, you obviously try to impart onto your students, you know, kind of the history and love of this craft. And specifically, even on this album, you got a power lineup of Terell Stafford, Michael Dease, Helen Sung, Rodney Whitaker, Lewis Nash. There's wonderful players that are on here. What, over the years, have you gleaned from these kind of luminaries that you, in turn, try to impart on your students so they understand this craft and this music better?
Oh, wow. Everything. My work with these, you know, incredible musicians has taught me so much. And, you know, Rodney is on, if you check him out, a lot of my recorded output. And just the role that he's had in my life has been really incredible. I didn't study with him at Michigan State. He came into my life a little bit later. And so, you know, he's had a really transformational effect on my life. And I think, you know, it goes back to you learn the music from the elders and from the musicians who have gone on and done great things before you. And so being able to glean that wisdom in real time, you know, it really affects how I hear, you know, the music in my own head and what I want to pass on to my students. And so I would say, like, learning from these incredible musicians has been a whole separate education for me. Like, and it certainly has served to really be transformational for me. And the things that I get from these incredible people have been invaluable to me as I seek to then teach students in this next generation. So, like, when I go to hear something, I'm hearing the way that Lewis plays over a tune, and I'm hearing his influence of the great Art Blakey. You know, I'm hearing, you know, Rodney Whitaker, and, you know, where he puts the quarter note and the magic of that groove. So I would say it affects me really significantly. And then, of course, I obviously there are things that my students can get, you know, directly from me, but I'm working to try to put these folks in front of my students as much as possible as well. So to answer your question more succinctly, what I've gained from, you know, working with musicians such as these has been absolutely everything, and the mentorship and guidance and wisdom that I've received from them has been game-changing for me.
So with each subsequent release, what do you try to capture with each album? Is it kind of a snapshot in time? Is it an assemblage of musicians? Is it an evolution of kind of your timeline as a musician? How do you go into each new project?
Every project should tell a story, and that's kind of where I'm starting for a lot of these projects. What story do I want to tell, and what kind of narrative arc do I want the album to take? Ultimately, the musicians that I'm working with become part of that story and an integral part of that story. And, you know, they become principal storytellers. I mean, yeah, my name is in big, bold print on the front of the album, but I always think of myself as being a co-narrator with my bandmates. I think it's what everybody adds to the story that makes it so special, and that makes and I'm not just talking about my albums, but that makes everybody's music so special. And so I think, it is telling the story of an assemblage of musicians, but also, co-writing the story with the things that make their music special. And one example of that on my current release is Tread Lightly, which I wrote for Lewis Nash. And I just love his brushwork. I love the way that it really dances across the time. And so the thing that I really wanted to kind of take from that was his kind of the joy of that brushwork. And I wanted to set that up center stage. So that's one example of how, the musicians on these projects have really co-created with their skill sets aspects of this album.
So at the end of the day, what do you like the best about being a professional musician? What gets you up every day? What motivates you to evolve and to love this art form?
It's a few things, but I think it really all comes to the people that make this art form so special. I think jazz is a music that really, it tells the story of the people who play it. And I have taken such great joy in getting to know the stories of these amazing musicians who I've been able to partner with on these projects, and whether it's that or playing live in concert or in the club, each step that you take in the music, it really tells the story of the people who are on the bandstand, and that has been that's been so special to me, and to get to share in life and in music with folks. Yeah, it's really, really special.
One thing about getting into this world of music is that it launches 1,000 dreams when you want to do it. And there's this idea of what the music industry is going to be like, what your career is going to look like, and what actually happens. As you really started getting into your career, what was the big difference between your dream and the reality of actually doing it every day?
That's such a great question. I think for the most part, when you see your dream, I guess you only see part of how it unfolds. And so I thought, I really want to, teach at the college level and play saxophone for a living. And, you kind of see that part, but you don't necessarily, and in my case, I didn't really see all of the things that it would take to make that happen. The whole idea of, what it takes to get an album out there. Yeah, you can put it out there, but also, what does it take for people to actually hear it? Those are two really, really different things. So yeah, all of the things that happen behind the scenes are the things that really, I think, are things that I'm still learning and still working toward, that allow me to have the career that I have. And I don't think I saw those things coming really in hindsight, but there's things that every musician has to deal with these things. And I think when you do, I know that maybe not a lot of us, but as independent artists, at least, we have to deal with these things. And so it's all of those things that happen behind the scenes that I didn't necessarily foresee when I thought about having a career like this, but it's all of those things that have been really the most transformational in having a career like this. So yeah, the behind the scenes work of marketing a record, and I know that seems maybe to a lot of purists like a kind of a dirty word, marketing, but really the way I think of it is, how do you get your story in front of the people who want to hear it? And that's kind of how I think of that term. But yeah, marketing a project, and the needing to to get out there and book album release gigs, and doing all of that work, and the work of booking a tour and things like that. And I again, you think about kind of the things that everybody sees, the performing and the recording and all of those things. But the actual things that go into making them happen, you don't always think about those. And in my case, I didn't always think of those things, but they are what allow you to have the career, that you have and that you want.
So ultimately, at the end of the day, why do you love this art form we call jazz?
Yeah. Jazz is an art form born out of struggle, and it has a very rich history, particularly in the African American community that birthed the music. It has such a rich history of being protest music and being art, and being folk music. It's all of those things, really. And it's always fascinated me that each musician who has made the music so special and has such an individual voice. I think the individualism of each unique voice, even playing the same instrument, people sounding wildly different, and that being okay, has always drawn me in. It's the urgency, the need to tell a story, and the inherent beauty of all of those things put together that made, and in my mind continued to make, the music special. And yeah, there are definitely things that I don't take for granted, and that keep me, falling in love with the music more every single day. But then also that there's this rich tradition, but then we as jazz musicians are called to do kind of our thing with it, and to keep moving, to honor the tradition, but to keep moving the music forward. And so it's that whole dichotomy of seemingly diametrically opposed forces that really, really keeps me coming back to this music and loving this music every single day.
So at the end of the day, Jordan, everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, students, fans, everyone that knows you on the bandstand, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? At the end of the day, I'm somebody who really loves this music, and I feel grateful that I get to do it every single day. And I'm just one person, telling another story through the music. And that's really how I see myself. And for me, I really want to be part of that, that larger conversation of the music, and I guess that in and of itself is how I perceive myself. One person who really loves this music and is doing the best I can.
So the time that you pulled up in front of your house when we got off the call here, and you could go back in the history and the annals of jazz and see one show, where are you going to go?
Where am I going to go? You know what? Wow, such a big question. To me, I'm going to the Village Vanguard, November 3, 1957, and I'm going to see the Sonny Rollins a recording session at the Village Vanguard. That record was so really like fascinating to me and transformational. But if I could go to one place, I would see that show and kind of take it all in.
So if anybody wants to pick up a copy of Survival of the Fittest, or if they want to catch you live, any of your previous albums, where's the best place for them to go to find all of this and to get in there?
Well, they can go to jordanvanhemert.com and pick up either the CD or the 12-inch vinyl LP recording for Survival of the Fittest, or any of my previous projects, Deep in the Soil, Nomad, any of those. And if physical media isn't really your thing, I have digital copies that people can purchase as well, or it's on all the major streaming platforms, Apple Music and whatnot. But yeah, my website is kind of the hub of where you can find all of those things, and where people can check out where I'm playing, and I hope to, for anybody out there listening, I hope to see you in one of these live dates. And if you're there, let me know and come out and talk to me. And I always love meeting people. So come out, talk to me, and introduce yourself and kind of share in the music. But I'm always happy to meet folks.
Wonderful. I will put all these links to the show notes. Jordan, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for opening up about such a wonderful album, your life and music. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. Again, thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening and tuning in to another Neon Jazz interview, where we give you a bit of insight into the finest players and minds in Korea, Michigan, Kansas City, and spots all over the world, giving fans all that jazz. And thanks to Jordan for swinging on by the show. If you want to hear more Neon Jazz interviews, you can find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Subscribe to us at YouTube, and for everything Neon Jazz, go to the neonjazz.blogspot.com. Until next time, enjoy the jazz, my friends.
Neon Jazz.